Okay, in this video we are going to talk about rumba and ballet and bomba. So rumba is a secular form of Afro-Cuban music that emerged in the late 19th century. It is an original Cuban style that draws on Congolese influences. There are three sub-styles of rumba, and guaguanco features, it's the most important style for dance bands later on, and it features interlocking patterns. There's also yambu and colombia, which is danced only by men. Instruments in rumba are 2 or 3 congas, also known as tumbadoras, and there's 1 or 2 to play a basic pattern, and then others played improvised lines. Palitos, which are sticks tapped on the side of the conga drums, and this creates an interlocking pattern. And the clave, which are 2 wooden sticks struck together on an ostinato pattern, like da 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 da, or something like that. And then there's a lead singer and a chorus. There are 2 formal sections of rumba. There's the Kanto and Montuno. The canto is more of a narrative text. There are long melodic lines, and it's strophic or through composed. The Montuno features call and response and short ostinato patterns, which are repeated over and over again, improvisation, and there's heightened intensity, rhythmic density, and often it has a faster tempo. The couples dance begins during the Montuno section of the guaguanco. This is a ritualized enactment of male conquest. The male dancer pursues and the female dancer evades. Rumba was banned or severely limited at several points in the late 19th century, including in 1888. And there is an example on Blackboard. You should pause now to go listen to the Rumba Guaguanco Consuelate Como Yo by Carlos Ambale Ensemble. And this is actually an embedded listening guide, so you can read along with this, and then actually the link you click will just open the guide. When you hit play, it'll go through each of the sections. That can be helpful when you're listening through what's going on. So you'll hear the main formal and rhythmic structures of rumba guaguanco. The narrative section, remember that's called canto, is followed by the montuno, and you'll hear clave, palitos, and congas, all providing an interlocking rhythmic foundation for the dancers. The quinto, or lead conga, has an improvisation over the top. The song's lyrics are an encouragement to give up on love because it only leads to heartbreak. So check it out, and you can also read this. This has a lot of, oh yeah, I wanted to go over what this is. The rhythms in here. So the clave, let's see. So da 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 da. Probably faster. Da 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 da. Palitos are going to be doing da 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 da, and the conga is da 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 da, and it just repeats over and over again. And they have it in this little like box notation to show you, like, if each of these little boxes is like a little beat. You see that these instruments come in with different rhythms, and they interlock. So all of them hit together sometimes. The palitos and the conga kind of alternate sometimes. And this is what we call an interlocking rhythmic pattern. So that's what that rhythmic texture looks like. Okay, and then of course this shows you the basic form. So about for the first 3 minutes or so is the canto. And oh yeah, there's some good suggestions. Listen to this section multiple times. First time, focus on the melodic and textual organization. Then listen for the congas, that's the lowest pitched sound of the percussion. And then listen for and clap along with the clave. So it's da, 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 da. Okay, and then finally, see if you can hear and clap along with the palitos, which are the highest pitch sound. Then you'll notice at about the 2:46, the Montuno, it'll be a little bit faster tempo, and you'll have a new melody. And listen for shorter intervals between the lead vocalist and the chorus, and for that improv solo on one of the congas, that the quinto solo. Okay, so hit pause and go check it out and then come back. All right, welcome back. We are going to talk about the 20th century rumba. In the early 20th century, Cuba was facing military, political, and economic interference from the United States and other major powers. Elites were looking for a musical style that would express their national identity as Cuba gained independence from Spain in 1898. There were several light classical national forms like danzón, zarzuela, but these were too European to serve as a national emblem. Afro-Cuban styles like the rumba were barely permitted by law. And to the elites, they were perceived as too primitive to represent the nation. The central paradox here was how to create a national culture, a project virtually inconceivable without incorporating Afro-Cuban expression, and present it as civilized and modern, for which it seemed necessary to marginalize blackness. European audiences were fascinated with representations of African and diasporic expression at this time. This was the time of Josephine Baker, jazz, tango, and primitivism in the art world. A few Cuban entertainers developed a cleaned-up form of rumba and performed in Paris to great success in 1927. Once again, acclaim abroad led to somewhat greater acceptance at home. Around this time, son became a new genre that was the international face of Cuba. This was a deeply syncretic style, drawing on both African and European-derived practices. It used clave, two-part formal structure, and associated practices that were all African-derived. It also used guitar, the trace, which is an instrument, and European-derived vocal technique and harmonic systems. The son was exported across the Caribbean and around the world. This had major influences on salsa and other styles, and influences show up in calypso, Jamaican mento, and George Simonette's cover, Love Alone. The baile, like the rumba, this style had played foundational roles in the development of popular music and included drumming. The baile is from rural Martinique and features interlocking rhythms played on the head and sides of a drum, also called baile. The practice is of West African origin and is now largely played in folkloric contexts. One of the central rhythmic patterns is called Cinquio, and it's da da da. Let me see, da 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 da. This rhythm becomes central to genres that develop later, biguine and zouk. It also appears in the Cuban danzón, the Haitian merengue, and occasionally in calypso. And lastly, the bomba. This was a Puerto Rican style that emerged from the slave barracks. It is a strongly African-influenced genre featuring percussion and vocals like baile and rumba, and performance of bomba is rare today. It included rhythmic patterns and practices that are still extremely influential in more recent popular styles like salsa, Puerto Rican dance band music like that of Cortijo and Ismael Rivera. So that's just a brief look at the rumba and some related styles, and you can see there's a lot of cross-pollination of cultural influence, of European and African influence, and other local and regional styles in these musics.